And rave she must, David.
And rave she must.
She must. Okay, here we go. Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back to episode 86 of the Snarp Fangle podcast, SNARP with a P. I'm your host, Jake Metzger, an average enjoyer of your average Eastern Germanic architecture, along with some Gothic films as well. And my co-host this week, we have a man who's got the Goths right where he wants them. And as a former Goth himself, he spends his times nowadays as a good old Protestant gentleman. And he feels glad he staggered away from those macabre ways of Orthodox living. Ladies and gentlemen, David Reed.
Yeah, I'm so glad I saw the light. Previously I was, just living that goth lifestyle, sacking Rome and whatnot.
Just sacking it hard, man.
And
Rome,
now,
getting rid of Constantine in there,
Yeah.
Yeah. Or is that historically accurate?
Yeah, the Goths are, Constantine ruled the Eastern Roman Empire. And the Western Roman Empire fell to what is known by collectively as the Goths, various German tribes. There was the Visigoths, there was the Ostrogoths, and I think there might have been a couple other ones in there, but yeah, essentially the Western Roman Empire fell to the combined efforts of various Germanic tribes attacking them.
Yep.
And Constantine went on ruling the Eastern Empire, which was located in what is now Istanbul.
Yes, but it's not Constantinople anymore.
Yeah. Because the city was originally Byzantium, and then when Constantine moved out there, he moved out there and made it his seat of power. He named it Constantinople after himself. And then, after the Ottomans eventually took the city over, they renamed it to Istanbul.
And they might be giants. And for any and all inquiries, including those that love and those that hate, and for inquiries about why Robert Eggers hasn't done a Frankenstein film yet, send them on over to snarpfanglepod@gmail.com, or you can just text Jake. David, we are here, and it is October, which means it's spooky season. Now, I must be honest. I am not a I'm not a speakeasy person in general, but speakeasies do sound pretty cool. But as much as I'm a fan of jazz, I'm not a fan of the spooky season. To be quite frank, I do like the slow jazz during the spooky season. Listening to those playlists on YouTube while at work. You know what I mean? Just chill, smooth jazz playlist while the autumn digital fall leaves are falling on the screen. You know what I mean? But today, we're talking about two films. And this whole month of spooky season, and the month of October, David, we are doing a 2 films each week. This being the first week. Well, last week was the first week of October, but we had to do that on Emergency Podcast.
Yeah, that was kind of
exception.
a necessity. But yeah, the plan moving forward is the October of 2 films. It's a celebration of our, I guess you could say, the thing our podcast is most known for.
I guess so, yeah. Well, we do, speaking of 2 films, if you're not aware, this is a 2 films entry into the Snarp Fangle universe, where it is kind of a pairing of 2 certain films to a certain theme, and we talk about them podcast style, if you're not so savvy. And this week, our first entry, we got a couple of them planned out, and I'm very excited to watch the next few here, because David pitched me on this, and I'm like, I want to do a peak analysis on this for spooky time. I want to do a, this thing for spooky time. And you're like, hold up, Jake. Don't get your feathers all ruffled yet. Why don't we just do 2 films each week? I'm like, each week? God, that's going to get old quick. But there's quite an interesting variety happening. And even if you haven't seen all the films we're going to discuss, they are all spooky themed and very Snarp Fangle-y centered. So, without further ado, let's get into our spooky season with our first entry, David, which is what? To what?
2 Robert Eggers films.
Well, we love the Eggers. We
Yes.
love them so much.
Specifically the gothic horror Nosferatu and the some other kind of horror, The Lighthouse.
A fantasy drama horror, The Lighthouse, which is what we are starting with today. So, The Lighthouse. Here's what it's about. We're going back to the 90s, the 1890s. We hang with 2 lighthouse keepers, one old and salty and the other greenhorn and enigmatic. We follow them caretaking a lighthouse off the coast of New England while we watch their maniacal demise into madness. Directed by Robert Eggers. Written by Robert and Max Eggers. Starring Robert Pattinson, Twilight Boy, William Dafoe, Valerie
You
Karaman.
keep saying William. It's Willem.
I know. My bad. I spelled it. Oh, I spelled it in here. E-M.
Yes,
Willem
Willem.
Dafoe.
I'll only say something because, like,
I just found out
over
about
the
this
past,
recently.
like, 48 hours, you've said William Dafoe,
Did I?
like 5 or 6 times.
Dang it. Okay, Willem Dafoe, Valerie Karaman, and Logan Hawks. Man, there's a very small cast in this film. Like, that's 4 people. There's like 8 listed, but I don't even know who they would be. So anyway, continuing on. It had a budget of $11 million, a box office of $18 million. Not bad. Runtime of 1 hour, 49 minutes, and released in the year of our Lord, 2019. Distributed and done by A24. You got Robert Eggers making this film. David, what are our thoughts on probably my most least favorite movie we've done besides Rockadoodle? And
What a
which are
picture.
so similar, by the way.
What a picture.
What a picture.
Yeah.
What are our thoughts on The Lighthouse?
Yeah, so this is not a movie for the faint of heart.
Oh, hell no.
If you are looking for some kind of movie that follows, like, you know, the classic hero's journey, gives you someone to root for, gives you an arc with a nice, satisfying conclusion where the hero gets the girl at the end, overcoming all of his challenges along the way. Yeah, you're not going to get that here.
No, not at all. The exact opposite. This is a tragedy, to say the least. But it's a very well-crafted tragedy.
Yeah. I mean, basically, this film is one person's descent into madness, ending in tragedy. And yeah, I didn't actually think I didn't know really much about this movie going into it, so it was actually kind of like I was like, wow, this when I saw how it kind of went, how the story kind of progressed, I was like, wow, this does have kind of a horror-esque sort of framing to it, even though it's definitely not what I would call a horror film in like the normal sense of the genre.
Yeah, the descent into madness is, it's really what this movie's about. And it's interesting because personally for me, I've always struggled with media where there's like, characters that are irredeemable, but I enjoy stuff like The Sopranos, which I guess you could say has characters that are redeemable, and that's why you like them, even though they're mobsters in quotes, or something like Breaking Bad, for example. But I think watching somebody's descent into madness, especially in film and television, can be kind of like, at least for me, it's kind of miserable sometimes. You're like, okay, we know where this is going. And you're just watching them make bad decision after bad decision. But what really carries this film, for me at least, is the performances of Pattinson and Dafoe and their chemistry together. And seeing the combination of that with this black and white 1:19 aspect ratio is just, you can't take your eyes away from it.
Yeah, that's the thing. A normal film gets you invested in its characters through them being relatable somehow, them being likable somehow, and then they're down on their luck or whatever, and that makes you want to root for them to overcome whatever obstacle they face. The investment in the story comes just sheerly by force of the actors' performances, the way they're able to play off one another, really just kind of draws you into their story, even though there's nothing to root for in the traditional sense.
And there's something you mentioned when we were watching this, because this is my second time viewing this. I first watched this back in 2019. I believe I was still living with my parents, and I was sitting in my room watching this, and I'm like, what am I watching? What is this? And I sat there as the camera's panning back on the ending shot of a naked individual, and I'm like, and seagulls, and I'm like, what is this? And then we watch it the other day, and I got to say, I have a much more appreciation for this film going into it. But this was your first time watching it. You said it reminded you of a combination of two films. I want to know if you remember what those were.
Yeah, I think what it reminded me of was There Will Be Blood and
Shutter.
Yes, Shutter Island. That's what the other one is.
Yeah.
Like, obviously the setting being like on a coastal setting with stormy waters where there's no rescue coming for them, there's no way for them to escape, is very reminiscent of Shutter Island. But also I think the soundtrack as well as some of the shots kind of give me that sort of same feeling as well. And then you have the There Will Be Blood, like a very similar arc where just you have a character just descending into madness and it ends murderously.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because there's so much, looking at it from, now as an older adult, I guess, watching it now, there's so much in this movie in terms of the way it's crafted together. There's a lot of thought, a lot of care, and gentle hands that were with this film. Like, and by gentle, I just mean direction. Like, I was watching a little bit of the making of, and they used a very specific cyan filter for the camera and lenses that were used in like the 40s to get a certain old style look to this film. And what they did is they filmed it in cyan, which is blue, and then they took that color out of it and made it black and white, so that the cyan, when they're just getting that one single color out of the camera, it's pulling in like specific details out of characters' faces. For example, if you look at the film, specifically, there's a shot of Robert Pattinson they showed, and you could see pretty much every single pore on his face. It's very interesting. And, we didn't really watch the film in 4K, but I remember watching it and thinking, yeah, you can really see a lot of the darkness in the faces, the creases, I guess you could say. But yeah, it's very interesting. It's very art housey.
Yeah.
I guess you could describe it as.
And this is, art house, I think, can be kind of like a cop-out term.
Sure, yeah.
And it's where it's like, oh, it's an art house film. And really what they mean is it's like there's really nothing to the film. It has no direction or a very vague direction. And you just sort of cover over the lack of any consistent theme or the lack of any plot direction or anything that would resemble intentionality by saying, oh, it's not about any of that, it's an art house film. But this is a very intentionally crafted film.
Yeah.
Like, there's a very specific direction that Robert Eggers went in with everything from the cinematography to the lighting to the dialogue, everything.
Yeah, there's several shots in this film. Yeah, it's in black and white, but the use of shadow is really interesting in this film. It's specific, it's also funny because it's called The Lighthouse, and it's about a lighthouse, and it's about shadows. I think is at least they use shadows very effectively, I'd say, in this. Especially when they're in the lighthouse. There's a shot as Pattinson's character, I think it's Ephraim, is climbing the stairs, and you're looking at his face, but it's in near pitch black, but you can clearly see his face. And then the lighthouse, as it's rotating the light above him as he's climbing the stairs, reveals like his face as he's climbing. And it's really well done. It's really cool. And like what I would say about Eggers' like direction, because I don't know, you haven't seen The Witch, you haven't seen his other stuff besides the two today. I personally love The Northman. That's my most favorite of his films. That's a man. By the way, that's a manly movie. Like that's a lot of man in that movie. Like we're talking blood, we're talking chest hair, we're talking Vikings. That's what the movie's about, man. And it just makes you like, oh man, I want to go out there and kill something. Versus this, where it's like, oh my god, I want to take a shower after this movie.
No, it's more like The Northman makes you want to kill something. This film makes you want to die.
and there's very specific themes. Speaking of Eggers, there's specific things he has in each film that he's done so far. It's all in the past, which is one. This is like his staple. But also dialect is a big one. Like in The Witch, it's about, I think, 17th, 18th century settlers who get outcasted from their village. And it's about this family who has to live in the woods and they have to deal with a witch of some kind. And their dialect is really interesting. And Ralph Ineson, who's in the next one we'll talk about, Nosferatu, is in it as the dad. And he's also in, for those who aren't aware, he also plays Galactus in the new Fantastic Four film. And he's got a certain voice, and the way he uses the dialect that the Eggers has in that film is really interesting and fascinating. And all the characters too, like speak in that specific time. And in this film, William Dafoe sounds like a pirate, but I guess Robert Pattinson specifically wanted his dialect to come from a very specific place of Maine, like the state of Maine in the United States. And it's very interesting and it sounds very distinct and stands out amongst, well, I mean, I guess it stands out of the weirdness of this film in general.
Yeah, it's a very, it kind of puts you, I think his accent in the film, like, really places you in, like, as far as the time and the place that this movie takes place in.
It grounds it really well.
Because, like, Willem Dafoe, like, he just sounds like a salty old sea dog. So it's like, that could be from any time period, any place.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Robert Pattinson sounds very, like, 19th century East Coast kind of accent.
Not the Hiroshi guys, but close to it, I guess you could say. Maybe. I don't know.
It's almost like Bostonian.
Yes.
Like, it's almost like a Boston accent, but it's a little different.
It's like Boston, but way further north, I guess, which I guess would be Maine,
Yeah, but it's like, well, it's more like, I think it's most reminiscent of like a modern Boston accent, but you can tell it doesn't sound modern though. It sounds like something that, the way people would have talked, back in the 19th century.
Mm. It's interesting because speaking of like what Eggers is doing with this, he has very specific things like the dialect in each film, but also like there's always somebody who ends up naked in his movies.
Yes.
And I don't know why. That's just part of, I don't know, something that in each one of his stories, somebody's naked, whether it be a vampire, a Viking, a lady, or something, or Robert Pattinson,
Yeah, or multiple things.
Or yeah, exactly.
In the case of this film,
yeah, there's a lot in this movie. Speaking of the weirdness, David, what was your like reaction to some of the? Because we don't get the weird imagery or the fantastical elements of this film until about a third of the way through. What was your reaction like which I'm not going to spoil it, but once something dies, then things start kicking up and you're like, what's going on here? Like you've got some bad omens following you now. What was your reaction to this? Like this being your first time watching it?
Yeah. I guess it kind of like threw me for a loop because I kind of expected that Willem Dafoe's character was going to be the crazy one. And then what you find out when some weird fantastical imagery starts showing up, that it's actually quite the opposite.
Yeah. And it's cool how they do it too, because they make you they do it really well, because they make you think that they show something, but then Willem Dafoe says something different. Like, you just did this. Like, you see him chasing him with an axe. But then they get to the lighthouse or the cabin or whatever, and then he tells Pattinson, "Yeah, you just chased me with an axe. What were you doing?" And so I'm like, is he gaslighting him? Is this like a part of what Pattinson has seen? Like, what's going on here? And it's really, they don't ever fully explain anything. But you know, it's the descent into madness which is happening, and you know these men are far further along than probably they ever thought they would, you know, in terms of madness. So it's really interesting. Speaking of those two guys, like, I can't think of any other actors for these roles. Like, I think it was mentioned that Eggers wanted, gosh, it was Daniel Day-Lewis and somebody else who was retired at the time to be Willem Dafoe's character. And I think he had Aaron Taylor Johnson lined up for Robert Pattinson's, I think, or something like that. But it was Robert Pattinson, and then somebody else was going to be the Salty Sea Dog. But then you got Willem Dafoe, and I can't picture anybody else in these specific roles.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe definitely. I think he's like the star of the show.
You're not sure.
You're fond of me, lobster, ain't you? You couldn't have this film without him. You mentioned Daniel Day-Lewis, and I almost think that if Daniel Day-Lewis was Robert Pattinson's age, he could have filled in for Robert Pattinson. But as far as people Robert Pattinson's age, like, there's not really anyone else I could see.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of too. There's just not many actors who are willing to be this weird. And that was actually a specific call out from Robert Eggers and Pattinson.
You know what? This. Actually, now that I think of it, like, maybe, just maybe,
Danny DeVito.
No, not Danny DeVito. I was actually thinking of Daniel Radcliffe.
Yes!
He might have done well in this film.
He's a little short, but he can pull it off.
Yeah. The only problem is, I think Robert Pattinson already has kind of trouble, I think, like, playing a rugged working man. That's kind of the only weakness of his character, is it's less believable that he's like some kind of rugged.
Yeah, because he's supposed to be a lumberjack before
he's a lumberjack.
Yeah.
Like, that idea, like, he doesn't sell that totally for me. And I think Daniel Radcliffe would have had even more trouble selling that. Yeah,
well, I would kind of push back a little bit because of the aspect of he is completely out of his element. He is from another profession. He doesn't look quite like a mountain man. I'll definitely give him that. But him being very awkward and acting weird while doing the duties that he's done before any of the fantastical stuff comes into play here kind of suits him well. But again, he doesn't have that ruggedness, I guess.
Yeah. Somebody
that Alex Skarsgård could pull off for sure.
Yeah. I feel like
Alex Skarsgård straight up looks like a lumberjack.
Yeah, I feel like Daniel Radcliffe could definitely pull off the being awkward and weird and out of place. And yeah.
Yeah, let's see. What else did I have here? I think there's this was interesting. I want to know what your thoughts of this, but this film reminded me, this on the second viewing, like the argument for men specifically who are at work or on a job of some kind. And there's that ships passing through the night element, the day shift and the night shift. I have like intimate experience with that kind of aspect working on fires where there was a day shift and there was a night shift and there's that transition. There's the ships passing on the night. There's the debrief of, hey, this is what happened last night. Hey, this is what happened during the day. And here are the keys, that kind of thing. And with this, you get a really good aspect of that because it makes me think of what it was like back in the 1890s where this takes place in, where it's these two dudes, which are sent out to this lighthouse with months and months of rations, hopefully that last. And, we'll see you in like 6 months. Good luck. And you know what? It's always stormy out there, so we'll hopefully get to you in time.
Yeah.
Like, there's that aspect of solitude, of duty, and of kind of sharing the miserableness with another person. Yes, we do it in like our day jobs and stuff, but in an aspect of where you're isolated really kind of spoke it to me.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing to think about. Like, especially parallels with today, I would say, and some other jobs out there.
One thing too that I think this film kind of pulls off very well is the idea that there's like a thin line between genius and madness, because throughout the whole film, he's like, Robert Pattinson's character is always asking Willem Dafoe's character, like, you know, when can I actually go up and, you know, operate the light during the night, you know? When can I actually be a lighthouse operator? And like Willem Dafoe's like, no, only I do it, and like keeps the keys to the top part of the lighthouse with him at all times. And there's this like the idea that Willem Dafoe is keeping the light to himself, and that Robert Pattinson needs to get to the light as the film progresses. And then you have that ending scene where it's like, it's almost like the way it's shot, it's like he's you know, receiving it's almost like he's gotten what he's after, and like he's like receiving divine revelation, almost the way it's shot. But what's actually happening is he's in excruciating pain because, you know, I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, don't spoil it. But it's very fascinating to see, because even in the script, when they were when Eggers was having them read the script, it's not detailed of what they're seeing necessarily, but it says how they feel. And so Pattinson and Dafoe had to communicate that through the lens, and it's really interesting. And I think there is some weird analogy stuff with that theme specifically. He's trying to, the light is being protected from him, and it's almost like the Icarus tale, almost, except for the very ending shot, which I'm not going to spoil, but you know of a different Greek tale that it's inspired by, very clearly. It's inspired by. And I don't necessarily know what exactly that has to connect to, necessarily, because it's kind of like conflicting with each other. Like, you kind of think of, oh, don't get too close to light, like Icarus. But then there's like, oh, there's this ending scene, which is supposed to be another Greek tale. So it's kind of confusing for me, at least. And that's why one reason I didn't like it as well, besides the graphic nature of this whole film, and the imagery, which we can get to, I guess, if you want. But there's some weird analogy with this film, and I can't quite put my tongue on it, really. Or what would I put on it? Finger. Yes, I'll use my finger. I don't know. What do you think? How did you interpret this?
Yeah, I agree. It gives you, there's a couple different mythological things that it uses to pull certain imagery at the end from. But for me, I think they work well. Because there's like, because he's like Icarus in that he's chasing after the light, but that's only in his own head. What's actually happening is he's a crazy, murderous madman, and so he sort of, the very ending scene, he's sort of receiving the just desserts of what he's done. You know, he's reaping what he sowed.
Yeah. Which is, another aspect of why I come to like this more the second time looking at it, because I think it was just the shock value the first time watching this film, and we already know what the thumbnail is going to be, you and me. But yeah, it was like when you said The Lighthouse, I'm like, no, please, I hate that movie. But on second viewing, hate's a strong word. I greatly dislike it now instead of hate. So there are still some stuff to appreciate, like specifically, like we already touched on this, but the directing from Eggers. The way he moves the camera, he likes to go back and forth, like we'll see in Nosferatu. But it's like an eerie echo of early Spielberg. Like some of the blocking, I guess you could say, some of the movement of the camera, the slowness of it. It's very methodical and well planned, and it kind of communicates to me somebody who has put a lot of thought, and there is a lot of talent behind the camera. Especially, David, the dialogue. So we already mentioned the lobster quote, which is, let me see, what does it say? Thomas Wake, who is Willem Dafoe's character, says, "You're fond of me lobster, aren't ye? Ain't ye?" And then there's this quote, which is like toward the end of the film. And it's hard for you to understand it, but I just want to read it verbatim. He says, "Oh, what protein forms swim out from men's minds and melt in hot Promethean plunder, scorching eyes with divine shame and horror, and casting down to Davy Jones, the other still blind, yet in it see all the divine graces, and to fiddler's green scent, where no man is suffered to want, toil, but is ancient, mutable, and changing as the she who girdles round the globe. Them's truth." Very interesting dialogue. Very, very unique. I think that's part of what makes this very entertaining is not just the performances, but how I don't do a good job there delivering it. And there's a much bigger speech that William Dafoe gives, like, to Robert Pattinson in the middle of the film in their quarters. And it's really like he's cursing him basically. Like a sea curse, and it's pretty funny, especially as you get to the end of the scene. But the dialogue and the way they're able to deliver it is really fun and really interesting. Was there any part that stood out to you while we were watching it? I would say for me, the quarters scene when they're going back and forth and they're drunk, which is where we get, "You're fond of me lobster, aren't you?"
Yeah. Yeah. I would say the just some of the thing that stood out to me was like some of the sort of demented visions that Robert Pattinson's character has. Like they're very striking, and they take you by surprise. But it's very striking imagery. Like there's the one part, it's nearer to the end of the film, where Robert Pattinson is stumbling through like a landscape or something, and then like there's this like flash of light, and all of a sudden you see Willem Dafoe's form, like you see like Willem Dafoe's face like lit up, and it's like, whoa, and then you see him, and he's naked.
Yeah, he's naked.
But you don't see anything.
You don't see anything. Yeah.
But it's almost like in that particular scene, like he's almost appears as like a heroic Greek figure. Because one thing about ancient Greek art is they had this idea of like the heroic nude.
Yeah.
So like the naked male form symbolize victory over your foes, or over whatever sort of thing you were battling against. And so they would in their depictions of various mythological characters, they would depict them nude, but they would specifically, even if they were like old, even if they were old, they would specifically depict them like really muscular, really masculine looking, like having the ideal male body that was like a symbol of like victory and triumph. And it's actually that's the reason why the statue of David, Michelangelo's David, looks the way it does, is because he was trying to capture the biblical figure of David having just slain the giant, because he has the sling with the stones over his shoulder, but capture it through that Greek lens, that heroic sort of Greek lens.
Interpretation.
Yeah. So Willem Dafoe's like pose in this scene and the way he's lit up, like it almost looks like an ancient Greek statue or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say even a painting. Like it looks very painterly. That shot in general.
Yeah.
And there's several shots like the kind of just I mentioned it kind of gave me Gendy Tartakovsky vibes, where we're just seeing characters walk across the landscape in silence. And it's really cool because some of those scenes do echo Samurai Jack, but I think it's Samurai Jack, Gendy Tartakovsky, using the time he's given to for multiple reasons, but mainly to show kind of the boringness of life, of the journey that the hero is on specifically with Samurai Jack. And also there's just shots in a lot of his work where there's cartoon characters, but they're just thinking. And you see them thinking, and it's really cool and entertaining. And to see this, and you see this in many film, of course, and it's very few, not often you see it in animation, but it reminded me of that because I'm like, I'm just watching Robert Pattinson walk across like the island or whatever. And it's just, it reminded me of that. And I thought it was really useful, and it makes you feel more alone with these men, so it's very interesting. But speaking of the characters, let's jump into the trivia here as we round out the lighthouse. So number one, the scene where Willem Dafoe's character gives the sea curse to Robert Pattinson's character because he doesn't like his cooked lobster was shot in one single take. According to director Robert Eggers, Dafoe didn't blink for over 2 minutes.
Dang.
That's crazy. Like, now I want to go back and watch that scene. Number two, in the original script, Thomas Wake had a glass eye, a peg leg, and 3 missing fingers. This was Willem Dafoe's character. This was changed because Robert Eggers felt the audience would misinterpret Wake as a pirate and that the effects required for his appearance would be too difficult under a tight budget. Again, we're only working with 11 mil here, so it's not too much. I think the term low budget in Hollywood is given to films under 5 million, or 5 million and under, I believe. I wonder how much The Witch was, but continuing on. Number 3. Before filming began, Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson rehearsed with Robert Eggers for a week in a hotel in Halifax, Nova Scotia, which I believe in Nova Scotia is where they filmed this film. While Dafoe loved to rehearse given his extensive theater background, Pattinson didn't want to show and let out too much beforehand, preferring to jump directly into the scene blindly. He found the rehearsal process frustrating and uncomfortable, being used to reacting impulsively in front of the camera and getting self-conscious about thinking too much about the scene beforehand. His method being that if he accomplishes certain things in rehearsal, it will later ruin the spontaneity and feel fake in front of the camera. Robert Eggers welcomed that the two worked so differently and stated, in quotes, "They have this incredible electric chemistry on screen, but it was chemistry through tension that couldn't have been better for the movie. Rob hated to rehearse because he wanted to surprise me and Willem, but mostly surprise himself with what he would do in the scene. Rob tends to be the best in his first take, and he feared that he would ruin that, so he held back for the rehearsal period." I think that's one aspect of, I guess, method acting is what you could say, where it's like, it's something in acting I haven't really thought of a lot is you rehearse things. I've actually experienced a little bit on this podcast where I research, I practice things over and over, and then by the time I get in front of the mic, it's kind of crap. Like, I've kind of had that similar experience in that sense, but I ain't no actor. I'm just trying to be myself here.
Yeah, I'm not an actor by any stretch of the imagination, but in various things that I've had to prepare, I always feel like it's less good than if I were be able to just speak completely spontaneously.
Yeah.
Like usually like if I like for example giving Devos a youth group,
Yeah.
it's like what I'd really like to do is just have a list of verses in front of me and just go. But because of time constraints, because I want to make sure I deliver the message in a cohesive way, I have to write it out beforehand. And I feel it like loses something in that process.
Yeah.
But, that could be just me too,
Yeah, I've kind of put some of this that line of thought in some of the podcasts we've done as well, where I'm like, how much research should I put in? What feels right to do so much research, and then where will the conversation carry us, basically? Because it's basically like, oh, let me do, if I'm really well versed in the stuff that we're going to talk about, like the subject, I'll do like 20% research and call it a day, and I know I can carry on the conversation. But when we were first starting, I had to write literally everything out. And natural conversation would form, but I would have to have my notes in front of me. But as we've done the podcast more and more and more, there's many an episode that come and go where it's just no script. We're just here. We're just having a conversation. And I think radio hosts struggle with this. I think a lot of YouTubers struggle with this, or other podcasters, where it's like, you want to make the good content, but some people work better without a script. Like, like our president, for example, you don't want to give him the teleprompter. You just want to let him go.
Yeah.
And you get some of the best stuff from him that way. So anyway, continue on with the trivia. Number 4, Willem Dafoe learned how to knit for this role, which I have no idea where he's knitting in this movie. I don't even remember. Do you remember, David? I don't remember. Oh, wait. Maybe there's one scene?
Yeah, I feel like there is one scene where he's knitting.
Again,
it's not central. It's not centrally featured in the scene. It's just kind of like an incidental off to the side kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I do vaguely remember a scene where he's knitting.
Yeah. Again, this is IMDb trivia. Take it with a grain of salt. But knowing Willem Dafoe, he's just crazy enough to do something like that. I'm going to learn how to knit for this one scene. Go for it. So, cool. All right, number 5. The script didn't explain what... we already covered this, so let's continue on. Number 6. During shooting, director Eggers was afraid that the film was going to be too funny, in quotes, because Robert Pattinson and William Dafoe are naturals at comedy and are very funny in real life. Eggers then used the music score and post-production to keep the tone dark enough. Yeah, music comes in so pivotal to this movie, I guess, when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, there's a scene in the next film we'll talk about where this character is, shuffling their shoulders like a BG, and they're just doing it. And if he didn't have the music and he didn't have the demonic element in there, it's going to be pretty funny.
Yeah, I feel like without the very serious music, this film would come off as a comedy.
Yeah.
In fact, you could easily recut this movie as a comedy.
Dude, there were times where we're laughing and we're like, these performances are amazing. Like, this is awesome.
And the funny thing is like, I feel like it actually doesn't take away from the film.
No. Yeah, it doesn't.
As it seems like the director feared it might.
Yeah.
I think it just adds depth.
I think, because it adds depth. Yeah.
Life is kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like humor and sadness often have to sort of like coexist in weird ways in the course of our lives, just because humans are interesting creatures like that. And so having this be a very dark, serious movie, but having just things that make you laugh out loud because of how bizarre they are, like, it really makes it almost like it brings a real life sort of element to it.
Yeah, and such a foreboding, miserable movie as you're watching it, in terms of the tone, I should say, the dark tone. Any hint of comedy is such a relief as you're watching this, and especially for the average moviegoer. Like, I would not recommend this for the average moviegoer, but there's so much talent behind this film that it's kind of hard not to appreciate it, in my opinion. So
yeah, this is definitely a film for people who like movies.
Who like movies. Yeah.
Like really like movies.
Yeah.
Like
you were joking that, oh, we should, Holly was here with Chelsea yesterday. We were watching a film and you're like, oh, Holly, you should watch The Lighthouse. We were at church yesterday and I was like, oh God, we got to go watch The Lighthouse for the podcast. And they're like, what's The Lighthouse? And David's like, you guys want to find out? I was like, no, please, for the love of God. These poor women, don't subject them to The Lighthouse.
Well,
Don't subject your significant other, especially out there. If you got somebody, don't subject them to this. Don't subject your lady friend to this, please.
I find that this movie, I think, is actually less objectionable than some out there, specifically because of the story you told me in the trivia. I don't know if you.
Oh yeah. We're
trivia.
not. I don't want to say it on the pot. You can say it through innuendo if you want, but
yeah, basically. I thought that was so funny, and honestly, it makes this film less off-putting than it would have been.
Yeah.
Because basically what happened is, so this film was produced by A24, and, so Robert Eggers had to kind of work within their constraints, and he wanted to shoot this, in black and white, and, do the things that the way it was done, and A24 is like, well, if you do that, you can't have any, there can't be any like frontal male nudity, because that's a feature of certain other Robert Eggers films.
Yep.
So
here's the deal, Robert. You can have the frontal if you want, but you can't have the black and white.
Yeah, so in order for... Yeah, it's really funny.
It's really hilarious.
It's crazy how that's the deal that they had to work out. Yeah. But yeah, in order for Robert Eggers to...
get the black and white.
To do the film the way he wanted it to be done, basically, like, he had to forgo the full frontal male nudity, which is a feature of his other films.
Yes!
So it's like, I feel like because of that, this is... way less offensive than it could have been. Mm-hmm. Like if you're like subjecting someone who's not like a super movie buff to this, like at the very least they're not going to have to be subjected to to like front and center dong shots, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At the very least.
At the very least.
He doesn't go as far as he could have.
Yeah, he could have gone way further. And that whole story feels like, just the parent being like, all right, Billy, you can have this, but you can't have this. It's like, Robbie's like, okay, I'll take what I can get.
And I feel like film directors kind of need their more excessive elements reined in too.
Yes, that's the full reason there are producers in the first place.
Yeah, like George Lucas, I think, is the perfect example of this. By all accounts, his first original cut of Star Wars, like A New Hope, was
horrible,
nigh unwatchable, and at the very last minute, his now ex-wife came in and led the team that re-edited the film completely into what we know and love today. And also, all throughout the filming of the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy is a different story, but throughout the filming of the original trilogy, George Lucas had to work within the constraints of the studio system. And knowing how the prequels turned out, I think the original trilogy is much better for it.
And he didn't direct Empire or Jedi, I believe, right? He wrote both of them.
Yeah, I don't think
him and Caston wrote.
Yeah, I don't think he directed either.
Because Empire was. Also, there's a science fiction writer who helped with Empire, who it's like the fans speculate whether it's mostly her idea of some of the stuff in there or it's Lucas's idea. Because it was like she wrote it with Lucas or had a draft of it, and then Lucas had it, and then she passed away. And I can't. That's like how the tale goes, or something like that. And then fans speculate for years because it's renowned as the best Star Wars piece of product ever. So it's like, was it her idea? Was it not? I don't know. There's a lot of elements to it, but that's one reason why we have producers, and good producers will do that. They will rein in and say, "Hey, no, this is a little too far." And trust me, I love it when artists go full, no, not full frontal, but when they go full like creative mode and they're willing to do, and they're able to do what they want. But it's kind of like, it's kind of like some of this podcast. Like I have some ideas and you're like, how about this instead?
Yeah.
You redirect me and I'm like, oh, that is a good idea. Different people work better with others and we need them,
Yeah. And in the case of this film specifically, yeah, Robert Eggers needed to be reined in that part, because if he was allowed to include what A24 said he couldn't have, this film would been almost impossible to watch.
Yeah, it would be really hard.
Like there's scenes that are weird enough, but if you saw more of what was going on in those scenes, like I'm sure Eggers wanted people to, oh my God, this would have been a hard watch.
Yep, in more ways than one. Sorry, I just had to say it. Okay, next. In 2012, Robert Eggers' brother Max first held the idea for a contemporary ghost story set in Lighthouse. After years of trying to get The Witch made and failing, Eggers turned to his brother Max to work on that ghost story, but decided it had to be a period piece after he discovered a real-life tragedy about two Welsh lighthouse keepers in 1801. Eventually, The Witch got greenlit, and then financing started for that the year before it was released, and then the film after, following up The Witch, was The Lighthouse. Oh, let's see. Where do I want to go from here? While writing the screenplay, Robert Eggers listened to hours of YouTube videos of subwoofer rumblings, waves crashing, wind blowing, and foghorns.
Well, there was a lot of foghorns in this film.
Yeah. In fact, when we were watching, I'm like, that's a foghorn, ain't it? And you're like, I think that is.
Yeah, it's kind of a funky sounding foghorn.
It's like a wah sound.
I feel like they must have did something in the post processing of the audio to make it, because a lot of the foghorn sounds almost sound like musical, like a horn, like an instrumental horn. Yeah. So I wonder if some kind of post processing was done on the audio to make the foghorn sound the way they would do.
I would guess so, because there's also scenes that have some interesting choice of Foley that we were watching. I'm like, oh yeah, that's some interesting method, but okay.
The sound design on this film really in general is just top notch.
Dude, the whole scene where he's just brutally murdering the seagull, and it's in the trailer, so I can say it. He's like smashing it against the rock, and it's a dummy, obviously, but the blood, it feels, I don't know why. It's not that it's not in color, but I feel like it might be. It's just so visceral.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I think it's the sound that sells it.
Yeah.
It sounds very wet.
Ugh.
Like there's innards being smashed upon the rock.
Yeah.
And being black and white helps too.
It does.
Because it doesn't have to look too realistic.
Yep.
You can just let the sound sell it, and then your mind fills in the rest of the details.
Speaking of sound and the aspect ratio and all that, the next one in here says 10 days before filming was due to start, production company New Regency tried to convince Eggers to shoot on widescreen because the film sets were considered too beautiful to not be shown full scale.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah, I was like, oh, okay. All right, next one says Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe both reached out to Eggers to work with him because they loved The Witch so much. Dafoe had walked into a theater to see it based on the poster and liked it so much that the next day he went again with his wife, which is, well, okay, cool, and later set up a meeting with Eggers. Luckily, Eggers was already looking for a project to do with both men before he had finished the script. He had also talked to Pattinson beforehand about other roles in films, but Pattinson declined about the roles Eggers wanted him to play because he considered them all too boring and normal for him. I was watching the making of, and Robert Pattinson said that at the time he was doing The Lighthouse, he was taking films such as Good Time and a lot of other weird roles. He did the one with Timothée Chalamet where he's like the King of France or something, but characters that were very, very weird, and he went for that. He's like, I want roles that are just so bizarre and weird. I feel like it might come from him trying to shake off the Twilight name, because even if you go on IMDb, it's the first two films he's known for is Twilight films, and then the Batman's right after that. But Let me tell you, man. I love Robert Pattinson in this movie so much. Like, I love the Batman, and he was perfect in the Batman, like for what that film needed him to be. And it's also funny he plays something else with wings, you know? I guess. Well, no, never mind. A vampire doesn't have. Wait, he was a vampire, and then he was asked to be a Nosferatu, rejected it, and he could have been in another vampire movie.
That's funny. He probably didn't want to be typecast.
Yeah. All right, the next one says here, that's Hershey's chocolate syrup coming out of the water pump at 39 minutes. So I think that's the point where they were drinking water. No, that was in the beginning. I think the
water pump,
the cistern or whatever.
It said the water pump, right?
Water pump.
I think it's the scene where he's like pumping water from the sink, and it there's like black sludge coming out of it.
Oh, okay, yeah. So there's chocolate syrup. Another benefit of being in black and white.
Yes,
you can use that as blood and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I want to say is the black and white also really helps this film like not be too off-putting. Yeah, because like there are scenes that would have just been horrible if they were in color, because then they would have to be extremely realistic.
Yeah.
Like
and you also have to change the entire wardrobe, the entire everything to get that going.
Like when you see the dead seagull in the poop tank.
Yeah.
It's like, and there's also like 2 or 3 other shots of just him looking down into the poop tank.
Yeah.
And it's like, so that's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of poop. A lot of shots of poop.
A lot of shots of poop in this movie.
And it's like, it being in black and white, like it doesn't have to be too realistic.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like you can appreciate the artistry of the shots because your mind isn't like being like confronted with the disgustingness of him looking down at a bunch of poop.
And also, you don't have to worry about if, the color of the oil or whatever they're using to make the sludge in there look that way. You don't have to worry about what color it is. You can just worry about how it looks in motion, which is what film is all about.
Indeed.
Yeah. Number 15, director Robert Eggers on the fart jokes, in quotes. After making The Witch so miserable and self-serious, I thought it was gonna be... I thought if I was gonna explore misery again, I would want to be able to laugh at it. End quote. Sure. Yeah, it's funny. Like some of the farting and everything is like, that's one reason. Like you'll see some reviewers point that out. Like, why is there fart jokes? There's fart jokes in this movie. What the heck? It's movie. It's something to look down upon. It's like no. It's just it kind of brings depth and more authenticity to these characters.
Yeah, it's
they're
like,
men.
Yeah,
we fart. Everybody farts.
2 men looking after a lighthouse in the 19th century. Like there's gonna be farting.
There's gonna be farting, especially with them rations they got. All right, let's see. We already did that. There was a quote about Robert Pattinson's accent. Eggers was very precise about the actor's accents and line delivery. He would, for example, give instructions and say the second sentence of your third line 75% faster. So like when they were, there's some dialects and some languages that I've seen people say in behind the scenes stuff. Like I would say this part slow, this part fast. And then if you want to, like impersonators is a great example. Like people who impersonate different actors and comedians throughout the years will say, funny enough, Epic Rap Battles talked about this too. David, that's another reason you should watch some Epic Rap Battles. But when he was trying to, they were trying to, Epic Lloyd, who's one of the guys on Epic Rap Battles, was trying to impersonate Robin Williams. And he said, I go to one part of the clip of his comedy special and I go to another one and it's a totally different pace of voice, a totally different type of voice. And he sounds deeper and lighter and it's so variable. It's hard to even be consistent at all with impersonating that person.
Yeah.
So I totally get it when he's like, no, this is how you're going to say it because this is how these people talk.
Yeah. What's cool too is Robert Pattinson, like his accent is very well utilized. Like it's less apparent when he's speaking normally, when he's quote unquote sane.
Yeah.
But then as he gets more and more tilted, as he gets
As he gets more crunk.
Yeah, when he gets like deranged or angry or whatever, like the accent comes out more strongly.
Yeah.
So it adds a lot of depth to the performance, I think, the way he makes use of it.
And finally, number 17, Willem Dafoe and Pattinson stated that they barely spoke a word to each other on set and were too exhausted to hang out together after a day of shooting because it was so physically demanding due to the miserable weather conditions. While Pattinson stayed at a normal hotel with the rest of the crew during the shoot, Dafoe lived in a little fisherman's cottage in solitude. On set, on the other hand, Pattinson would tend to eat and stay by himself during filming breaks, while Dafoe stayed with the crew. Both stated that they liked each other very much as soon as they had their first real conversation a few months later. I also like the aspect of one person who comes from theater, who loves to rehearse and finds great joy and value to their craft by rehearsing, but the other has a totally different way of rehearsing and getting prepared for a role. Seeing these two interact, I wouldn't be surprised if that totally helped like deliver on their chemistry and kind of their on-screen performances together. I don't know. What do you think about that aspect, David, in the sense of these actors have different methods, but it kind of enhances their roles together?
Yeah, creativity, I feel, is enhanced by tension. And obviously there can be a breaking point where there's too much tension, but like you gotta have some tension for in any creative endeavor for there to your best work to be produced. So I think having two completely opposite mindsets towards preparing for their roles, I think it adds the right amount of tension that brings the best out of their performances.
And the best out of themselves, I would say, probably. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. What? Let's see. Final thoughts on The Lighthouse. I'll go first. I liked it a whole lot better watching it with you, David. It was. I knew what I was expecting. I knew what I wanted to close my eyes at and look away at the screen. I would say it's very. I don't know how to describe it. I don't have a bunch of fancy words for this. I would just say I appreciate its authenticity. I think that it's a very special film for some reason. I think there's not a whole lot of things out there like it. And I think if you were to watch an artsy film, like a dark artsy film, this is probably, I would say this is my first pick. And I really hope one day this is like one of those films that very deservedly deserves a Criterion release, like a Criterion Collection Blu-ray, for example.
Oh, yes,
or a DVD. Like it's especially it needs to be on physical media. I think you can get it on Blu-ray now, but we were watching it on, I think HBO Max had it. We were watching it and it's black and white. And when you're streaming stuff, the dark colors already kind of lose detail, and the what's it called? Not scatter shot, not the artifacting.
Yeah.
The artifacting of the darkness didn't truly stand out, but you could tell it's there, and it really takes away from the experience of this film.
Yeah, this film has like there's like the contrast is very like there's just not a whole lot of like the brightest of the brights and the darkest of the darks are not as bright and as dark as they could be. So it's like all that artifacting from the streaming compression, it's just like it really kind of muddies it up.
Muddies it, yeah, that's a good way to put it. And also because you only have two colors to work with, those are your details. And when they really are infringing upon the compression's really infringing on that, it takes away just the pure beauty of it. And now I get why people say, well, I've always gotten why people said it, but it's like physical media matters. You need to get more detail. And I'm totally on board for that. Even like, even if you just get it on DVD, because a DVD, you're at not 480, but you're at 640p, which is a little higher than 480. You're still getting a clearer picture than some of the crappier stuff out there.
Yeah, and also too, it's like you don't have the artifacts from the streaming
Yeah.
if it's on a physical disc. And I think the artifacting is really what is really the worst thing about watching it on streaming. It's just like you wouldn't think so, like hearing maybe our description of the film, but this film is a visual feast.
Yes.
Like this is a feast for the eyes. It is a beautifully crafted film from a visual standpoint. And so I think in order to fully enjoy that, I think would have to watch it on a physical release.
Yeah, you can still go and stream it. You'll still get the same. I think you got the same experience. You'll get the same experience we got yesterday.
Yeah, but there's
things, more to it.
Yeah, there's more to it that you might miss if you watch it on physical media. But like I said, it's not like the artifacting was so bad that it ruined the film.
Yeah,
but you could tell that there was a little something missing there in the visual fidelity.
Yeah, those Amazon AWS servers, which Netflix and HBO and many other streaming services, if not all, besides Apple use, they're getting their work cut out for them.
Yeah, and the thing is, I'm not really like a purist when it comes to visual fidelity in films. Like, I know a lot of people who complain about like, YouTube compression and streaming artifacts and all this and that, and for the most part that stuff doesn't bother me too much, but in this particular film I could really tell that something was taken away by it being on streaming. So I do actually want to revisit this film later, just on physical media.
I'm gonna I'm gonna look on Amazon real quick how much it is for the Blu-ray, because I'll tell you what, as much as I dislike this film, I keep saying I hate it, but I don't think it's a fair comparison. Hate's a strong word. I just dislike it. But
I think that it's not a bad film.
It's only $14.
Oh, nice. It's very upsetting.
It's upsetting. Yes.
It's very upsetting. And if you're willing to be upset by the film, you'll enjoy it a lot.
It's kind of like, there's films like Hereditary and Midsummer from the same director that are just very bizarre and upsetting, I guess is the word to use. Like they're very strange and unsettling, off-putting. There's different ways to say it. You're watching somebody, yes, descend into madness is the word we've used, but it's lose humanity, I guess is another way of describing it.
Yes.
But the way you watch them descend into madness and lose their humanity can be very entertaining.
It is very entertaining.
Very entertaining from the perspective of art. So, and it's also very authentic in the sense of the dialogue, the performances, the director, the editing. It's all really dang good.
Yeah, some of these shots too, like...
Oh, dude, I was going to mention, sorry to interrupt, the shot where it's like the fantastical vision that Robert Pattinson's having and it's going onto the water and you're slowly like, the rocks are peeling apart and you see the water underneath it of the ocean. When you see it, and this is the shot that reminded me of like an old Hollywood movie. And when I saw they used like old lenses from the 40s and 50s, I totally like, this is the shot that came to mind. Because when you look at it, the glistening on the water looks like an old movie.
Yeah. I was going to say too, I think it's one of the opening shots of the film. You just see like a wide shot of the sea and the lighthouse glowing in the darkness. And it's like, you see the light go dim and grow brighter because the light in the lighthouse is turning, and it's like the flare on the light as it comes into view is very reminiscent of older films.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of people like even Nolan's stuff, because it's like it's kind of a mixture of old Hollywood and new, especially stuff like Oppenheimer. Like it's especially it being a set piece or not
period piece.
Period piece. Thank you. Like it kind of has a little bit of old Hollywood flair to it for sure. especially this film, which is weird because you got naked people, you got mermaids who are naked, you got naked seagulls who aren't wearing no clothes. You know, you got a lot of stuff in this movie. You know what I mean? Brutally murdering seagulls, a lot of weird things. I think that's all I got for you, David. Anything else for the Lighthouse? The last words to get people to watch it. Weird.
Yeah.
Stephanie, if you're listening, you might like it. I think you'll like it, actually.
Yeah, bring your wives, bring your girlfriends. Watch this film with them.
Yeah, watch them. Yeah, watch this film with them, especially this next one because this is such a date night movie. The next one we're watching, Nosferatu, 2024. Here we go, baby. Back in 1838 in Germany, we follow a young
1838.
Yeah, that's when it's set.
Where did you get that information from?
It's on Wikipedia, David. It's on Wikipedia.
I'm gonna have to look at the source for that because
you want me to go? I'll go right now.
Because Dracula's set in the 1890s.
All right, 1 second.
And this is just the story of Dracula.
It says in the early 1800s, a girl named Ellen prays for a companion to ease her loneliness. And then it specifically says in the next paragraph, in 1838, she's married to Thomas Hutter, which is Nicholas Holt's character.
What does it cite a source for that?
Let me go to references. I don't see anything.
I feel like that's something that the person who wrote the article just made up out of whole cloth.
I don't know, man. Because the Tale of Dracula is in the 1890s, right?
Yes.
We're going back to the 90s again. Should we just go back to the 90s, David?
Because the Dracula was written in, I want to say 1897 or something like that. And it's set in the same time period in which it's written.
Well,
so, and this to me, I mean, yeah, obviously, like there's nothing that ties it specifically to the 1890s, but I mean, the way it looks like it could easily be in the 1890s, or it could be in the early 1800s too. Like there's there's not enough visual specificity in the film that places it in any one decade within the 1800s.
Yeah.
My impulse is to go with the 1800s or the late 1800s simply because it's
the source material.
Yeah, because of the source material. But like I said, visually, there's not really anything that you could really go off of to say that for sure.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting about Nosferatu is, and also there's the fact like with the gypsy stuff, like, yeah, we need to get into it, but whatever, like with the gypsy stuff, it's kind of, it echoes stuff from like the 1700s or like The Witch, for example, and with that time period, like it's of the more colonial era kind of stuff. But it's a little bit more modern. So I don't know if it screams 1890s, but it's pretty modern, I guess you would say.
Well, I mean, the city shots are more modern.
Yeah.
But then when he's in Transylvania, it's very primitive and Eastern European, which I think is kind of the point.
Yeah.
It's like
people still live this way.
Like it's something the main character is bringing something from the old world into the new world.
Ooh, that's good.
I think is kind of the point of this film.
Not to spoil it. No, I'm joking. All right, so back in the 1800s, we'll say, in Germany, we follow a young, newly betrothed couple who encounter an oppressing spirit in manifestation of this demonic force known as the vampire, named Nosferatu.
Well, he's named...
Well, he's named Count Orlok.
But they use the term...
And they don't even say Nosferatu in the film.
They do say it a couple times, but they use it as... I did more research. I was under the impression like it was Latin for like bringer of night or something because I think nos... My Latin's really rusty, but I think I think NOS like can be a root word that means like night or what I'm thinking of is the root NOCT, like nocturnal.
Oh yeah.
Like that's the
Like a
Latin root.
combination.
That's the Latin that NOCT. That's the Latin root for like night or darkness. So I thought maybe the NOS was like a
Like a play on that.
like a modified version of that. And also the ferratu part, there's the FER, that's another Latin root that means like to bring or to carry.
Oh, okay.
So I thought I got that information from somewhere else, but maybe I just made it up using my what remains of my knowledge of Latin, because I actually did look it up.
Yeah.
And I found out that it actually originates from Bram Stoker himself, and he got it from somewhere else. Like it was a term.
It wasn't a term that was used.
He didn't make it up.
Yeah,
he got it from somewhere else.
Yeah,
and he was under the impression that it was like an old Romanian word that meant vampire.
Yeah, I remember. I think I read a little bit of that too.
And so
it's like unclear where it came from.
Yeah, there's no actual like proof that that's actually what it is. But the way it's used in this film is like when they talk about, the vampire, they say Nosferatu a couple times.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Nosferatu. Anyway, let's continue on. Also, I want to get a t-shirt for you that says that, David. Excuse me. My Latin is a little rusty. You're never going to hear anybody say that, except if you're hanging out with David. All right. Directed by Robert Eggers. Written by Robert Eggers. Starring Lily Rose Depp.
It would be funny if you're like, starring Robert Eggers.
What did you say it was? Rob Schneider is Nosferatu. And he's going to find out that being Nosferatu is way more than he bargained for.
Yeah. Oh, for those who don't know, there's a
is
sequence
it Robot Chicken?
No, it's a reference to South Park.
Oh, South Park.
There's a certain South Park episode where there's all these fake film trailers playing, and it's all a riff off of like The Animal.
Yeah.
Where it's all Rob Schneider turning into something else, but it's an absurd thing. Like one is Rob Schneider is a stapler. And he's going to find out that being a stapler is harder than it seems.
Robert Eggers is Nosferatu. He's going to find out that directing Nicholas Hoult is a lot harder than it was Bill Skarsgård. Man, can that boy cry. Anyway, speaking of Nicholas Hoult, he's also in this film.
Anyway, sorry to derail your thing there.
Well, there's 4 derailments, and I haven't even gotten through the first sentence here. Bill Skarsgård plays Nosferatu. Aaron Taylor Johnson's in this as well, along with the legend Willem Dafoe and the delightful Emma Corrin. Oh, as well as Ralph Ineson and Simon McBurney, who, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's not the same person who's the bad guy in Dinotopia, right?
I don't think I've actually seen Dinotopia.
Have you not seen Dinotopia? It's a Hallmark miniseries, which I never knew about until I was older. Because I always thought it was a little bit more higher budget than that. It's not bad. It's like that and 10th Kingdom. Pretty dang good miniseries if you're looking for some out there. Before I derail this any further, let's continue on. Budget $50 million. Box office of $181 million. That's so cool. Runtime of 2 hours and 12 minutes, the sweet spot for Hollywood Motion Pictures, and released in the year of our Lord 2024. David, I have far more notes written about this film than the last one because of my distaste for The Lighthouse. But this one, I'm a big fan of. What were your thoughts watching Nosferatu?
So this is my second time watching the film.
Yeah.
And
same as well, actually. Like I watched it in theaters, and this is my first time outside of theaters. So
okay.
Good stuff.
Yeah. I would say my first impression of this film is it's like the gothic sort of horror aesthetic in this film is so well done. Like the music, the costumes, the lighting, just the sets, it's all very beautifully done.
the storytelling and
Yeah.
the tragedy of it and the triumph as well, like rare triumph. Man, what a movie, dude. Like, man, this movie's packed, man. It's got so much talent in it, so many people in it. Like off of the top of your head, who stands out to you in this film? Like,
I would say the standout for me would be one Count Orlok. Which Skarsgård plays him? Is it Bill?
Bill.
Bill Skarsgård, yeah. Bill Skarsgård portrayal of Count Orlok is incredible in this film because it's like the first vampire film I've seen in a long time where the vampire is something that's actually horrifying. Like the vampire in film has a long sort of history to it, and it's gone through many, many different changes over the years. But I think the total sort of impact of all the different ways vampires have been portrayed in film up to this point have sucked any mystery or horror out of them. And this, I think, makes the concept of a vampire a lot more mysterious, a lot more horrifying, than pretty much any modern vampire movie I can think of.
I love the characterization of, or lack thereof, of Nosferatu in this, or Count Orlok. Like, it's so interesting. Like, we don't know anything about him in this movie. We're not given much detail. We don't even know if he was a Count at one point or whoever he is. We just know that he's got a big mustache and he sounds really scary. And the way they deliver his, I guess for the lack of a better term, monstrosity in this film and dread is through Nicholas Holt's character. I mean, you have the intro of the film, obviously, and you're revealed, it's him. But like, and then boom, Nosferatu, the title sequence. But we get the actual intro of him, and the build up to it is horrifying. And it gets you like on pins and needles, especially as we're entering the castle with Nicholas Holt's character. Like, and especially David, the music. Oh my God, the music in this, like, it's good in Lighthouse, but this enhances nearly every facet on what's on screen with this soundtrack. Man, is it? Oh, it's like there's so many times we're watching this where I'm like, oh man, that's dope. Oh, that's creepy. Oh wow, like I'm just perplexed by it. Like, oh, what a cool movie. But we got to keep going. So the music, David, let's go there. The notable track for me was especially toward the end when they're going to potentially kill Orlok. And it's the chanting as they're rowing down the river and then they're running into the mansion.
Mm-hmm.
Like that chanting, which is only used in that track from what I can tell, is so, it hits at just the right moment. And especially the foreboding music you hear on the ship as the lone sailorman is like slowly with his lantern going through the dark, trying to open the crate of Nosferatu. Like, it just enhances every scene, especially the freaky moments we see Lily Rose Depp's character go through, just being all wonky and demonic and stuff like that. So, and I think you were the first person to mention the music, actually, when we were watching it.
Yeah, for me, I think what stood out to me was the music towards the beginning where he's in the carriage ride over to Orlok's castle. Like it's very it just gives it such a like dark foreboding atmosphere. And I have to say too, Nicholas Holt's character in those scenes is very, very good because like Bill Skarsgård definitely sells Orlok, but then like it's taken up a notch when Nicholas Holt is like very convincingly like frightened to death of this creature.
Yeah.
Like like that's something that you don't really see a whole lot, I think, in vampire films is the terror that they inspire in their victims.
Mm.
Um, and this like uh seeing the terror that Nicholas Holt's character is going through like really intensifies it for me.
Yeah. Yeah, his performance is really it's almost like because there's so much talent on the screen, like you almost forget about Nicholas Holt's character and a lot of the scenes, especially when we're separated from him for a moment in time. But the crazy like places Lily Depp's character goes and that she goes as an actress is really, I think, one of the standouts of this film. But then you also have Aaron Taylor Johnson, this man who is slowly losing his family, and the suffering you see in his eyes specifically. Like you see kind of different emotions really well played in different actors. Like in Nicholas Hoult, you have the fear. In Aaron Taylor Johnson, he's this preppy and snooty rich man who's a businessman on the shore or of the docks. And then like you see the pain and sorrow in his eyes during the funeral scene. Um, and then you have like the courageousness that you see in Willem Dafoe, but also kind of the craziness in those eyes as well.
Yeah.
And speaking of crazy, I think his name is McBurney, Simon McBurney, who plays the the Count's minion.
Yeah, Herr Canuck.
Herr Canuck, like that dude goes places in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Like he's eating birds, he's live animals, rats, and biting people, and flying purple people eater. He's everywhere.
Yeah. He really brings a lot to this film. Like he's kind of like a side character, but like when you see him, it's just like, oh my goodness.
He kind of steals the show, especially like in the second scene we have with him where he's like summoning Orlok. Like it's like, oh, Robert Eggers, you like showing naked people. And it's this old man who's summoning Satan or something, like, oof.
And Robert Eggers does a good job of controlling his urge to portray full frontal male nudity. Because we see some, but it's not until later.
It's prosthetic as well. So.
Yeah, so the scene with Herr Canuck doing his like ritual where he's
Ricky
naked
Tava on his bum,
Yeah, we don't like it's shot very carefully, so there's not any objectionable glimpses into his physique.
Yeah, it's respectable for sure.
Which is really funny because it's like the shot is like the scene is like his character is anything but respectable. It's like he's like a raving lunatic.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Let's talk about Lily Rose Depp for a second. I want to know what you think of her because, and it's as we'll talk about in the trivia as well, but it's kind of like she also is the one that goes places, and it's kind of crazy because when in her eyes specifically, you don't see craziness. You don't see anything. You kind of just see a missing soul almost in her eyes at times. Like you see a loving wife who loves her husband so dearly, but then like in her performance, she delivers such a bizarre, very demonic performance that you'll see in other horror films for sure. But for some reason, man, like her eyes and her face and the way she's able to contort it, and kind of like William Dafoe's face, like his performances as like the Green Goblin, like he's got a crazy face and he can do things with his face. She channels that kind of same energy. I feel.
I was going to say this kind of reminds me of The Exorcist a little bit.
Yeah.
Her portrayal of like the little girl in The Exorcist. I think there's a little bit of that in her portrayal in this film. And it's very well done. She goes all out, like she just goes for the crazy. But like she knows, like she unleashes it in a way where it has maximum impact.
Yeah, maximum impact. That's a good way to put it. Like you could say like it's very impressive, like on the surface level there, but like the physicality specifically with the performance, like her like whole body arching in the bed. Yeah, they could use wires or whatever, but like her whole body doing that, and the shoulder shuffle that we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
But the raving that she does,
Yeah.
as Willem Dafoe puts it. But man, it's just really a sight to behold, I guess you could say. But I don't want to give it, so much credit because I think inherently it is demonic. I mean, I want to know what you think of this, but like, it's kind of this theme in Robert Eggers' films where once evil is enacted upon, or once there's an act of evil done, or like murder or lying or murder, I guess, again, like it's kind of, it almost seems to be like a main theme, whether it be intentional or not, that once you invite evil into, whether through an act or sin or whatever, into your house specifically, the witch deals a lot with this as well. Once you invite it in, it stays there and just everything goes downhill.
Yeah.
And when you don't have God involved in your life, like the control is kind of given to something else. Like we see it with the death of the seagull with Robert Pattinson's character in the lighthouse. Once that happens, poetically things go downhill. And the same thing for this. Once in the very beginning of the film, you see her give herself over to Orlok, and then, Bob's your Arnie from there, which is an Australian term, which means Bob's your uncle, I think.
Okay.
Anyway, it all goes downhill from there.
Yeah. I think too, what's really cool to see is like, she sort of vacillates between being just absolutely demonic and crazy and then being scared out of her mind.
Yeah.
Because all she wants is to live her life with her husband.
Mm.
And like just to see the fear and the desperation that she's going through because she's having to deal with the consequences of having given herself over to Orlok.
Mm.
Like, and then like contrasted with the points where Orlok kind of like takes over and she goes nuts. Like it's a cool little like dynamic.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say it's necessarily completely translatable to real life, but it's a good analogy, I would say, of real life, of what can happen. When you give yourself over to evil, that's kind of the way it plays out if you don't have Jesus, for example. So it's just, I like it because it's an interesting aspect that Robert Eggers has in his films, and it's in almost every single one of them. Maybe except The Northman, I don't remember exactly what happens with spirituality wise, or I know mythologically what's in it, but like spirituality wise, I don't remember exactly what's in that movie. But I just find it interesting. Also, it's cool because this is like a kind of a look, like The Lighthouse was a look into a very specific trade in a very specific time. This is a very specific lifestyle portrayed in a very specific time. And we get to see how people would kind of like accurately, I think, deal with something like that in that time period, given the science and the level of history known to the average folk, the well-learned folk, the alchemy, the occult that the guy that Willem Dafoe's character knows. There's a certain sense of real world, like how would people react to this crazy thing during this time? I don't know, it just is interesting to me. But let's see, where do we want to go from here? The dialect. The dialect also, let's see. I don't know if it's dialect or just the way things are written in this film that stand out to me, but it's the way that the dialogue is delivered through, especially Willem Dafoe's character, the professor, as he's like talking to Lily Rose Depp and he's counseling her and he's like asking her questions about what this thing is that she's controlled by and trying to figure out where it's coming from and where this darkness is hiding. Like, it's really like the whole dialogue and the exchanges between those two characters is really cool.
Yeah. I think
you mentioned
Willem Dafoe kind of stands out here just because like he kind of has the same quality like he does in The Lighthouse. Like his just delivery of the dialogue is very intense, very entertaining.
Very old English.
Yeah. Yeah, this film is very strange because it's set in Germany, as in the original film that this is based off of, Nosferatu Symphony of Terror, I think it's called.
Yeah, I didn't know about that until today.
Yeah, because so the for context, uh Bram Stoker's Dracula was actually set in London, so all the characters were English. Like Dracula obviously still lived in Transylvania, but like all the other characters were English and they lived in London. And so in the uh so when the original Nosferatu film was made, in they sort of transplanted all the characters to Germany to make it a German film about Germans, basically. And so this new version of it keeps that. Everything's, yeah, all the characters are German. It's set in Germany, but they don't actually, like, the dialogue's in English, but they don't speak with a what you might think of as like a German accent. They actually speak in like a Victorian English accent.
Yeah, which is not entirely accurate, obviously.
So it's almost like, to me, because
Do you think it's an homage?
I think it's an homage, because knowing how particular um about accents and dialect that Robert Eggers seems to be after watching his films and hearing more about like the behind the scenes stuff. um I can't imagine that it was simply a careless anachronism. I have to imagine he did it intentionally for a reason, and to my mind, the reason that he did it would have to have been that he was trying to sort of pay tribute to the original setting of Bram Stoker's Dracula novel, while keeping the actual setting in the same as the original Nosferatu film.
Yeah, and speaking of the specificity of the dialect and the dialogue, it's kind of interesting. You pointed this out when we were watching it. You use the word overstylization of Orlok specifically, and Professor Albin, who's Defoe's characters, and how Orlok is very Latin, Germanic, and
Yeah, he's more like, he's in a lot of his dialogue, he's speaking in Latin, but like his accent is very, very Eastern European.
yeah.
But his English is very formal sounding, but it's formal sounding in almost like a stilted way, as if he's not a native speaker of it.
Kind of like a count, like
Yeah,
a rich
like-
aristocrat.
Yeah, he's got an aristocratic sort of bent to him, but it's not his native language. So he speaks very formally, but in kind of like a stilted way. It's kind of cool how he does that. And then, whereas Willem Dafoe's character is a very learned man, so he speaks in a very florid, expressive way, with like. So they both use a lot of big words.
Yeah.
But they do it in a different way that's unique to each of their characters, which I think is very cool.
And I think it's kind of a testament to Robert Eggers and how he directs people, because imagine you had, like, say you had 12 Angry Men, right? It's all just your average white guy who's got a family, and they're kind of all from the same area, right? Imagine it's 12 Angry Men, but everybody has a different accent, speaks a different language. It's like a nightmare to direct. It's cool, and I think a testament to Robert Eggers, because he does a little bit of that in this. He has people with different dialects and different forms of and different ways of conveying the dialogue, like Defoe and Orlok. And I can imagine that's pretty tough at times to kind of manage. Like, oh, you want consistency as a director with the actors, but for these specific characters, it's a very a very cool intentional choice to have them be very different. So, and very unique. I kind of want to go back, David, real quick to the theme of bringing the old world into the new. That's very much a theme with vampire stories where an evil is brought from a far off land. There's a book series I read as a teenager called Vampire Plagues. And, it's a young adult, or maybe it's way too violent to be juvenile, so it had to be young adult novels where it's like this Aztec Incan civilization is visited by people from Britain conquering it, and then they bring back idols and also a plague which makes people basically turn into vampires, and they bring it back and all the vampire bats to England, and then you have the story kick off. And it's really a great 3-book series. They made 3 more after that, but it's a great book series. And it kind of reminded me of this. And I was like, I think back to our book adaptations episode, that was the series I picked. Like, I want that adapted. That'd be freaking cool. And, fanboy director thing, but maybe Robert Eggers could direct it, bring the gothic feel to it, which I don't think he would ever do. Let him do his own thing. Let him go make Werewolf or Werewolf or whatever the next one he's going to do is called. But the theme of bringing the old evil into the new is kind of just, like you said, it's the theme of the film. Orlok is coming from this and into the modern era. And how does that affect the modern era? We see it with the plague. It's really interesting. I don't know. What do you think of all this?
Yeah, it's kind of, he's really just, it goes straight back to the Bram Stoker's Dracula, but it's like the idea that in the modern era, that's why Dracula was set in the time it was actually written, because that was the theme. Because, like I said, the 1890s was as modern as it got, because that was the time that Bram Stoker lived and wrote the novel. So that's why I was kind of particular about the setting. But yeah, so it's like, it's not very modern to us, but like it was modern to them. And so it's like this idea that these characters are living in modern, intellectualized society that had enough of old superstitions and folk tales, ghosts and spirits. It has no need of any of that anymore because we have science now. And so this film really deals with the idea that there are things in this world that are beyond the reach or understanding of the modern scientific mind, and what happens when evil from the old world is brought into the new, and they have no reference with which to deal with it. They have no means of which to fight it, because their whole worldview doesn't account for that even existing.
It's almost as if you could correlate it to biblical stuff as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a theme that I think, is pretty universal, because we kind of have the same thing going on today. There's so many. This culture has become so secularized that we don't even really know how to deal with the existence of evil, because our modern worldview has no place for it.
Yeah, and I think that's also another reason why Eggers was the perfect person to tackle Nosferatu, especially you telling me that a lot of this like old world into the new is from the book as well, because you see it in The Witch. You see the struggle of faith and how evil wins. Eggers deals with that in that film. You see the Celtic side of things in The Northman. You also see the mythological angle in that film as well. That also carries into The Lighthouse. Like these set periods are what's it called? Period pieces. Thank you. Period pieces but you also have like a convergence of the old and new worlds a little bit in each of those films. And that's why it's kind of cool that him tackling Nosferatu is like, it's like right up his alley. And also he's the gothic director, bro. So it's like, it's perfect for him. I want to hand over this to you, David, and I want you to read these because you do a really good Orlok impression. So I'm going to have you, I wrote up some things for you to read in the Orlok voice of Bill Skarsgård's character. And I just want you to enlighten the audience of what Orlok would do in each of these situations. So let's get you practice your voice if you need to. Like,
okay.
I look like this.
Oh yeah. So for context here, we came up with some quotes that are like from other things, and you
can read those in any order, by the way.
I think we were just tired and we were having a laugh at just the total absurdity of Orlok saying these things. So just to give you a little glimpse of that, I guess I'll take a crack at it.
Go for it, David.
All right, so the first one, this is from Halo 2. Yeah, that's what it's from. It's Sergeant Johnson. Oh, I know what the ladies like. But Orlok, I know what the ladies like.
And he would a big exhale.
Yeah. Which really tracks well for me. Because, like, because remember when we watched What We Do in the Shadows?
Yeah.
Like, I could really see, like an old vampire with a thick Romanian accent trying to be like a ladies' man in the modern world.
Yes.
I know what the ladies like.
Oh, my gosh.
And then, of course, we have the famous quote from Neil deGrasse Tyson, the black science man himself. You don't think it be like it is, but it do. For reference, this is from a meme. Neil deGrasse Tyson didn't actually say that. Let's see. Oh, here we have some maybe some of the 90s kids in our audience will remember this. Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline.
Give me one more out of that. One more.
Let's see. Let's say a good one. Oh yes, yeah, this one. Yeah. You're not you when you are hungry. Snickers satisfies.
And that was like the best one of the night. We were like, I wrote down some like Arnold quotes, but I think, candy is dandy, but liquor is quicker. It's like, so anyway, his accent, speaking of which, like Bill sells it, man. Like this guy was Pennywise. And when I heard Robert Eggers, I'm like, the guy who's the Northman, the guy who made the Northman's doing a Nosferatu movie, and Bill Skarsgård is Orlok. Sign me up, man. Like I hated The Lighthouse. I love the Northman. I'm all in. And I was very pleasantly surprised with this film. Like, wow.
Yeah, one thing too I really liked about his dialogue is both the delivery and the post-production on the audio.
Yeah.
It like made it sound like every line was like being whispered into your ear almost.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
Like even if he's across the room from the like in the beginning when Nicholas Holt's character goes over to sign the paperwork, he's Orlok's like across the room and the camera's focusing on what's his name?
Nicholas Holt?
Yeah, Nicholas Holt's I don't know.
Thomas, I think his name is
Thomas Hutter.
Yep, you got it.
Yeah. Is focusing on his reaction is near him, but like the sound is like Orlok's right there, like whispering it in his ear.
Mm.
It's it gives it a very creepy vibe.
Yeah, and I totally forgot where I was gonna go with after that, but yeah, the theater. When me and Angie went to go see this in theaters back in December, and man, like if you thought what you just described is exactly what you heard in the theater. It felt like he was whispering in your ear. It was so tormenting in a way, but so amazing to hear. And the music, dude. Like when he's going to the castle, like I got goosebumps. And also, this is one of those films. After the title dropped, and you hear like the screaming from her, like Lily Rose Depp's character, which when we were first watching, I'm like, oh, it's just some random chick, and that's what I thought when we were watching the second time. No, it's her in the beginning, in the opening shots. And then boom, Nosferatu. I was like, oh. I looked at Angie. I'm like, oh, we're in for a treat. Like this is gonna be great. But yeah, like it was such a great theater experience as well, and I'm so glad it made money. Like $50 million budget, the biggest, I think, budget he's had. I think Northman might have been about the same, but, or even more. But like to get also a very big variety of films too from the guy. Pretty interesting stuff. So anyway, let's jump into the trivia here.
Oh, one more thing before we jump into that.
No worries. Yeah, go for it.
There's one last thing I did want to mention that I thought was really cool. Because in the original Dracula novel and also in the
silent film,
the original Nosferatu film, the Frau Hutter's character, played by Lily Rose Depp in this film, is kind of not very central to the plot. Like there is still the element of she's the vampire's connection to the new world, but like in the original novel and in the original film, it's basically like he just happens to see a picture of her that that Thomas Hutter's brought with him, and he's just smitten by her, so he uses his vampire psychic powers to reach out to her all the way over in London or in Germany, as it is in Nosferatu. And she still sacrifices herself in the end, but it's but other than that, she just has less agency in the original story than she does here. In this, there's she's the one who invites Orlok into her life. She reaches out to him. Her desperation over the condition that she's in causes her to reach out, and it's her sensitivity to the spirit realm that causes her outcry to stir Orlok up, and that's how they get connected in the first place. And then basically later on in the film, what's his face, Willem Dafoe's character is telling her that she has to be the one to bring down the monster, because there's something inside her that makes her more aware and makes her powerful in the spiritual realm. So it's kind of a cool little just extra little fleshing out of her character, but it does it in such a way where it avoids turning her into some kind of girl boss caricature of the original character, like the Dune Part 2 does with Zendaya. I didn't like that. But this film manages to give her character a little bit more agency without going into that territory.
And I could picture just two things here. Number one, I could picture that's because in Hollywood, and we've mentioned this on the two film series, in Hollywood, there's certain things in scripts that you could insert into there to make it, appeal to, for lack of a better term, the woke mind virus or whatever you want to say, the woke stuff out there in Hollywood. And that stuff will get you greenlit. For example, there is a prominent gay couple in the film Weapons who's, it's whatever. They're in there. They're the characters and stuff. But I leaned over to who I was watching it with, and I was like, okay, that's your insert right there to get the script to have that check mark checked off so that you can get your, thing greenlit in Hollywood. There's certain scripts that are shown that will have that stuff in there to get it greenlit because that's one of the boxes you have to check off for diversity's sake, right? If it's for the story, I don't have a problem with it. I'm just saying that's how the Hollywood works. So with this, I could totally see Eggers and maybe somebody else having that as a way to pitch it. Like it's more fleshing out of the female protagonist in this film, and Lily Rose Depp's on board to play it. So that's how we're going to get this greenlit, or one of the ways we're going to do it. I'm sure that might have been an aspect to getting this thing greenlit. Maybe,
but it's done in such a like, it's done in such a like,
it's authentic
way.
Yeah.
Where it really feels like it
feels like a really good part of the story.
Exactly. It feels like it's organically part of the story.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like something that was tacked on.
Or tacked down, yeah.
Like, because it's very easy when you try to like talk about like female empowerment in films. Like, it's very easy to take female empowerment and just have it turn your character into just a total shallow caricature of what it might have been.
Yeah.
But this doesn't do that at all.
And look, I'm kind of a hypocrite. Like, I critique this stuff, but also I love Last of Us Part 2. And there's clearly inserts in there of trans ideology that has no place being in The Last of Us, but it's there. And it's like, why is this in this game? This doesn't make any sense. Like, I guess this is how they would incorporate it in this weird post-apocalypse way, but it's like, why is what I ask as the audience member. So when the audience member is asking why, in that kind of context for, that diversity's sake, maybe it's not necessarily required for your story. In this, it's authentic, organically inputted in, and it starts off the film. So we know like what we're getting into. Like it gives itself good reason as well. And it's a cool idea.
Yeah.
It's dope. Like, that's why, and also that's the downfall as well of Orlok. Like, it's dope. Like, and also that's actually a conversation me and Angie had walking out of the theater was, it's interesting how she's like very spiritually sensitive in this film, like as a character. And that's the key to defeating this evil as well. Like, yeah, she invited him in, but also that's the ticket to bringing it down. She has to bring down her own demon basically and save the day.
Yeah.
It's really cool. All right, trivia time. Number 1. In an interview with Variety, Robert Eggers explained that the design for Orlok deliberately went back to folklore and to the culture of Orlok's home region, with his costume having very long sleeves, strange high-heeled shoes, and a furry hat, as well as a mustache. Okay. Bill Skarsgård was originally cast as Thomas Hutter. However, after dealing with the film's long pre-production, director Robert Eggers decided to recast Skarsgård as Count Orlok Nosferatu instead. Number 3. Director Robert Eggers was previously spoken about how Bill Skarsgård transformed for the role. In quotes, he says, "I'll say that Bill has so transformed, I'm fearful that he might not get the credit he deserves because he's just not there." Eggers said, in quotes again, "He felt like honoring who had come before him. It's all very subtle, but I think the main thing is he's even more of a folk vampire. In my opinion, he looks like a dead Transylvanian nobleman, and in a way, we've never actually seen what an actual dead Transylvanian nobleman would look like and be dressed like." So it's like cool, like the real world like incorporation of his design is pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's one thing that's always kind of bugged me about portrayals of Dracula in film. Like, is like clean shaven with like slicked back hair, like Christopher Lee in the Hammer films. Like, I get it. I get why people like Hollywood sort of latched on to Christopher Lee's sort of Dracula. I get why, but it's just not realistic at all. Like a nobleman from, Romania in the late 1800s would not look like that.
No slick back hair here, but definitely big mustache, which is really interesting. Like in the trivia I was reading, they had 9 pieces of prosthetics just for his head. Like you had the top lip, the ears, the nose, the forehead, the nose bridge, and the mustache, of course, and the hairpiece. Like, I don't know if that equates to 9, but that's part of what was took just to make the head. And it was really interesting. Number 5 here. We'll go to this. Bill Skarsgård was concerned about the way his character Count Orlok was looking while undergoing the hours of makeup and prosthetic application. Skarsgård was also worried that he wouldn't be able to perform properly while wearing the layers of makeup and the prosthetics. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, he states, "I was worried I couldn't perform through it, that it would feel like a giant prosthetic piece, and I couldn't come alive through that." But he goes on to say, there was definitely a stage where I hadn't put everything on, and I was like, man, this is a freaking Grinch or a freaking goblin. I did not like at all how it was translating. However, the makeup process had proven to be effective, and the actor was able to immerse himself in the role.
Yeah, the makeups and prosthetics on Bill Skarsgård in this film are amazing.
So
he
good.
literally looks like he's a rotting corpse.
Yeah. Especially like in the very end where you see like his full body, like, ugh, man, it's unsettling.
Yeah, he's like skeletal, and like there's parts of his flesh that are all like bloated and folded in ways that a corpse would be like.
Skinny legs, no muscle on his legs. Ooh.
Yeah.
Nasty. Speaking of nasty, Harry Styles and Anya Taylor-Joy were originally cast as the lead roles in this film. Styles dropped out due to scheduling conflicts, in quotes, and the project was delayed, which resulted in Anya also dropping out later, as she was filming Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, at the same time. Lily Rose Depp took over for Anya Taylor-Joy's role. Thank God. Like, I love Anya Taylor-Joy, but Lily Rose Depp was definitely, like, meant for this role more than her, for sure. And Harry Styles, what the heck, Eggers? Did A24, like, have a stupid amount of money for Harry Styles? Why?
Did A24 produce this film?
Yeah. Yeah, this is another
This
A24.
seems a little big budget
It's
for
pretty
A24.
big. Yeah, it's one of the bigger ones they've done. They did Civil War, which is their biggest one they've done so far, which I think was like 80 million or 75 million, and this was 50. So it's one of the bigger ones they've done. So I'm glad we got what it turned out to be. Let's see, where do we want to go next? They talk about how the method in the film where the virgin is on the horse and they're leading her to the like vampire's grave is actually a real world thing they would do. They would take a virgin person, whether it be male or female, usually actually a young boy, and they would have it on either a black or brown horse. And for some reason, that would be their way to find undead people in graves. And apparently that's what they did in Transylvania. They would have the virgin child on a horse, and for some reason the horse would find the vampire. They would open the grave and stab him. Go figure.
Yeah, it's definitely those old world superstitions at play.
Also, they kept them fully clothed when they usually would do it. So Robert Eggers is just doing excuses at this point.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the idea is that it's supposed there's like a sexual element to a lot of the stuff in this film.
Yeah.
And it just kind of makes everything
it makes it more unsettling.
Yeah, more unsettling, like just everything has been corrupted. Like there's a like
even their marriage.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why too, that like the weird scene that you didn't like.
Yeah, I made us fast forward it.
It makes a lot of sense in this film because like Orlok being and Orlok's entanglement with the wife has corrupted her so much that like what should be pure and good, that is natural marital relations, turns into something darker and twisted.
Yeah. And also Nicholas Hoult has already been at that point drained literally blood from Orlok. He's been literally feeding off of him. And I'm sure there's tons of allegorical ways you can tie that into sin and modern day spirituality and stuff, and your actual self. But man, it's so interesting. Like, dang, like corrupted. Yeah, that's the word. Yeah. This film's fascinating, man. So I'm so glad we picked to watch it. Lighthouse on the hand. I can't wait for people to see the thumbnail. I'm sure you already have seen it for hours at this point. All right, speaking of Lily Rose Depp, director Robert Eggers revealed that Lily Rose Depp brought him to tears during her audition. He praised her, revealing her audition was, in quotes, insane, calling her a feral actor, Eggers explained. I had a meeting with Lily and she just impressed me so much. She understood the script so well. She had seen every major Dracula adaptation and a lot more obscure ones. She immediately brought up Polish director, I'm not even going to say that, and then I knew we were on the same page. But then we did an audition, a screen test, and it was just as raw and powerful as what she was doing on screen. I'm not exaggerating. I was in tears because her audition was so insane. And she's just such a disciplined, courageous, and like feral actor. She's amazing. She does some crazy stuff in this. The quote of this film, David, is definitely, "And rave she must," said by Willem Dafoe. And we immediately had to rewind that, and because we were laughing so hard. We're like, what? And rave she must. And I looked to you and we both figure out, oh, we need to do a meme of this. We need to take the scene where she's like talking to her husband and she's like jabbering her shoulders like, ah! And just like put like disco music, do 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 do, and the colors flashing on screen. Kind of like the meme with Beauty and the Beast. Whoa, Maurice! He came inside. He walked into the bar raving, doo, 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 with the glow sticks.
He was raving.
He was raving. But yeah, her performance is it's out of this world. It's crazy. And sometimes actors get away with, oh, it's such a crazy performance. They're such an amazing actor. I think she's just super in tune to what was needed to be done, and she was just able to pull it off really well. Continuing on, Bill Skarsgård, who plays Count Orlok, and Lily Rose Depp, who plays Ellen Hunter, are the children of notable actors, respectively, Bill Skarsgård, who's the son of Stellan Skarsgård, and Lily Rose Depp, who's the daughter of Johnny Depp. Furthermore, their fathers also co-starred in Pirates of the Caribbean 2 and 3, respectively.
You know, I guess this movie proves that Nepo babies can get it right sometimes.
I was just gonna say, David, we got Nepo baby city over here in this film. We got Lily Rose Depp, and I don't know where Alan Taylor Johnson comes from or Nicholas Hoult, but those are self-made men out there. Bill Skars, well, I don't know. Anyway, Nepo baby city out here. But yeah, I was going to bring up the same thing. Like you said it before. I was like, yeah, it's going to be Nepo babies, man. So, but apparently their parents really liked them to watch film. Lily Rose watched a ton of vampire movies. No normal child does that. But Johnny Depp's daughter does. All right, continuing on. According to Bill Skarsgård and Willem Dafoe in an interview, during a table read of the script with their castmates, both actors were generally startled by Ralph Ineson's very deep voice when he read his lines. Skarsgård and Dafoe, while laughing at the situation, stated that listening to Ineson speak surprised them, especially considering that Skarsgård was portraying a character, Count Orlok, who was supposed to have an extremely deep voice over the other characters, and the actor was expected to create an extremely deep voice for Orlok. So it's like Ralph Ineson, who's like the doctor, such a crazy deep voice. He was in The Witch as the father. Such a very distinct voice. And like, I can just imagine they're reading and they probably don't even know who he is, or they might have heard of him. And then he starts reading. Or no, they know who he is because Willem Dafoe watched The Witch and stuff. So they know he is, but they were shocked at how real life deep his voice is. Like it's a joyful sound to the ears, I would say. I don't know. What do you think of his voice?
Yeah, it was good.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's really kind of like he speaks in such a way and makes use of the deepness of his voice in such a way that it kind of like underscores like how serious of a character he is. Like especially when he's bringing on his old mentor, whose name in the film I can't even remember, is basically supposed to be Van Helsing.
Yeah.
And he's got and he's so kooky and out there, and this doctor guy is just doing his best to treat treat everything he says with such reverence and seriousness, because he knows just how learned and how knowledgeable his Van Helsing is.
Yeah, it's cool. And when we get introduced, by the way, to Willem Dafoe's character, it's like, oh, here we go. Oh, this guy means business. And like, especially when she's like doing the whole exorcist stuff for the first time, when he sees her, like, he's like, get big on. Like, it's like, oh man, like it's getting serious in here. Like, oh man, I loved it. Finally, the last two. The preparation for his role as Count Orlok was reportedly so intense that Bill Skarsgård stated that it was the one role where he's ever truly terrified himself. I don't know. This guy played Pennywise. He might have had the same thing with that. But anyway, after filming, he stated that he would never play a role as evil as this one again.
Interesting.
But in the next one, it says this. Producer Chris Columbus said Bill Skarsgård was so terrified in costume that he couldn't even approach him on set. That is, until Skarsgård made everyone laugh at a joke. Then Columbus knew, in quotes, knew Nosferatu had a sense of humor. Wow, what an interview quote.
Interesting.
And David, I want to share with you one of my favorite quotes from The Clerk as he's talking to Ralph Ineson, the doctor. He killed 3 sheep with his bare hands and ate them raw like. He was eating them raw like.
Yeah, that's really funny.
Oh, man. Oh, and dude, the quote from Willem Dafoe's character, from Van Helsing himself, man. Like, it's right here. It says, I have seen things in this world that would make Isaac Newton crawl back into his mother's womb. We are not so enlightened as we are blinded by the gaseous light of science. I have wrestled with the devil as Jacob wrestled with the angel in Peniel. And I tell you that if we are to tame darkness, we must first face that it exists.
Yeah, that's a cool quote.
God, what a badass, man. So, like, again, the writing from Eggers. Pretty awesome. So, David, are you down to watch The Northman with me?
After seeing these 2 films, yes, absolutely.
Now, how about The Witch?
Like I said, after seeing these 2 films, I'm like, this dude knows what he's doing. So I definitely want to see more of what he's done. It's kind of a shame that he's only done 4 films. Yeah,
well, he's 42, so he's pretty young. So I think he's got a very long career ahead of him, we'll say.
Let's hope.
Let's hope
that the upcoming film, his Werewolf or whatever,
Werewolf,
is follows up on all the just the things that he's really excellent about.
I believe Aaron Taylor Johnson is going to be in the film as one of the main protagonists. I think also, I don't know if I read this somewhere, but I think Anya Taylor-Joy is also going to be in it again. So he's bringing, and of course, William Dafoe, in every interview he's talked about with Nosferatu, he's like, I tell you what, I love working with Eggers so much. I want to be in every movie he does. He's my favorite director to work with. Like, he is like a huge fangirl of Robert Eggers.
That's funny.
So, Bob Eggers is a werewolf, and he's going to find out that being a werewolf is a lot harder than it seems. Bob Eggers is vampire. I don't know. Anyway, that's all I got for you, David. Any final words on Nosferatu or The Lighthouse? Would you recommend them?
I would.
Yeah.
With some caveats.
With some
caveats.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, Nosferatu is a gothic horror film. And I'm no horror fan. Like, I generally don't watch horror movies just because they don't interest me too much. So I wouldn't say that if you're not a horror fan to skip this movie. But if, like, horror just absolutely isn't your thing and you can't stand it at all, then you probably won't like this movie. But if you're even a little open to horror, then I think you'll enjoy Nosferatu a lot. And The Lighthouse, again, I would recommend it with some caveats. Like you really have
Big
to
caveats.
be you really have to be willing to be upset by this film. And also you really have to just like films a lot.
Very well put. I would say after watching all of his filmography, just the 4 films, there's also 2 short films he did before The Witch, which were also like based on like classic tales. There was one that he did, I think the first one he did was based on Hansel and Gretel. And the second was called The Telltale Heart, which was the Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, Edgar Allan Poe
poem. So I want to see those, but after seeing his filmography, I would rank it as Nosferatu number 1. It's objectively like his best work. Number 2 is The Northman, because I just really like The Northman. Number 3, oh man, this is tough. I could go either The Witch or Lighthouse. They're kind of even to me. Like I dislike them evenly, is how I would put it. Like they upset me evenly, is how I would put it. There we go. But no, The Witch is like it's like one of the films that people would say you have to watch before you die. I wouldn't agree with that, but Nosferatu, that's definitely one you should watch before you move on to the next life. So, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you taking your valuable time to listen to us. Just what's it called? Gog? No, what's it called? Jammer? What's it called? Yap? Watch us. Yeah, listen to us yap. A good old Bobby Eggers. We're excited to see what Werewolf's all about. It'll probably be maybe 2026, 2027. We'll see. But I'm excited for it. Maybe we should go see it in theaters, David, if it looks good. You never know. But thank you again for listening. Thank you for taking your time out of your day. We appreciate you, audience. And remember, when the werewolves and vampires come a-knocking and you want to make your film look like an art house piece with a naked man in front of it, just don't forget, with all diligence, to forget about all that and Snarp Fangle on.
Bye-bye now.